that everybody has recorded what you needed for the Unit 10 plan. There's something to do basically every day. Not much of this is new. You already knew about today, the pre-lab, and the solar house model. I've added 10.2 on Friday. You have 2 reading packet assignments, Monday and Tuesday. I'll do the reading packet probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You have the movie questions due on block day of next week, and then the exam. Then we get into 2 weeks of review before the AP test. It's very important that all of you are here on Wednesday, Thursday of next week. That's when we hand out and discuss all of the review plans and the 11 stuff. It's called the Smarty Pants Guide. For the pre-lab, which is tomorrow, you'll need the procedure and pre-lab questions on one side, and on the other side, all of the accounting stuff, the costs and profits of your mining operation. On tomorrow, you're going to mine a chocolate chip cookie for chocolate chips. And I will be the bank, and I will loan you your startup material that you got to buy enough chocolate to pay back your debt to me, the bank. Yes.
Is the interest rate we have to copy this?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Anybody else? No interest rate. We're going even Stevens on a pro like that.
Down payment?
None required. Anybody else? Okay. So we have like 25 minutes. I'd like to do just a couple study tools in assignment 10.1 and then we call it a day. Does anybody have vocab questions on assignment 10.1? No vocab questions on assignment 10.1? Going guys? Excellent. For study goal number 9, who can answer the warm-up, please? How many of you got scammed for this assignment? I am disappointed that nobody can answer the warm-up. No, it's not exactly to its original state. There's another word in there. Yeah. What were you going to say?
This is new. It was like the golf club example. The first question was like, where they turn ore deposits into, they turn into a golf club. So like, turning something that was useful into something better.
Useful. Keyword. So, please look up. Obviously a mine, not useful for much. Obviously a mine, not useful for much other than mining. Less obviously, this is a mine, or it was, and that was a mine. You could farm trees on it, you could graze cattle on it. All of them are mines, and the question really is, what do we call reclamation? Like, what's it take to make it useful? Do you have to build a whole ecosystem again? Like restoration? Or is it good enough that people can use it? So that's supposedly reclaimed. Not very nice, but at least it's, usable for something. And that's supposedly reclaimed, because at least, like children aren't going to fall into the hole. But that's much more reclaimed. You could actually use that as farmland. And you could even make a park for the community. Anybody know which park this is? Evenings Park. I wish I had my chair so it was easier to point. You all know a kid named Eamon?
No.
He's a junior in math. My house is right there. Eamon's house is right up there. This is Eling's Park, Las Positas, Arroyo Burro Creek. Up there is Henry's, the pit, Wilcox property. That's where they launch paragliders. Yeah, Sydney's house is over there. And this used to be something else. Underneath the baseball, softball diamonds, and underneath those 2 soccer fields, and underneath the BMX track. Anybody know what used to be there? Yeah? Yeah. That was Santa Barbara's municipal landfill up until like middle of the century. And you can all imagine that when it rains on the landfill, you're going to get a lot of landfill juice pouring into Henry's the Pit. So as the city was growing, someone decided, we could probably find a landfill a little further away from where the people live, and we probably wanted to cover that stuff up and use it for something different, so it made it more useful. Over here where the soccer fields are, those 2 rectangles, I go to that park all the time, take my kids there, and my parents walk their dogs there and stuff. I often see people playing soccer players, as far as I can see, don't really seem to smoke a lot of cigarettes, but I also see rugby players there. And apparently rugby players love smoking cigarettes. And I never knew this before. I don't know what it is about rugby players and smoking, but it seems like those dudes like chain smoke during and after every rugby game. Can anybody imagine why that might be like hella sketchy on top of a former landfill? Because organic material underground is decomposing in the absence of oxygen, and anaerobic decomposition makes. So just like you can light your farts, that rugby team is going to go up and smoke one of these days. State monitors keep finding elevated methane levels. And that just never ceases to amaze me. I can't believe that people are, like, there's no science about it or anything. Or at least put up, like, a notice, like, just so you know, this is, like, we've measured methane every time here. Whatever, maybe they just don't care.
Would it be enough to start?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it, it will continue to emit methane. It's like an ongoing thing. So I'm not sure, man. Kind of crazy. Anybody ever had sriracha popcorn? Kind of scary. It is good? Okay. Whoa, fish tank is real dirty. Yeah.
Don't you feel bad making them live in a dirty environment? One of the fish is like.
One of the fish is all beat up. We're setting up another aquarium for her tomorrow. Hopefully she'll survive.
She's beat up. What happened? They attacked her. What happened? What happened to her? What did you do?
Is that a thing?
Fish rape.
So,
Hey, so wait.
She looks so.
So, no, I don't feel bad. The water's not actually dirty. It is just supporting algae. Algae is a producer. It's technically lowering ammonia levels. In terms of water quality for those fish, it's better. Those are all pond, swamp, river fish. Algae is a natural part of their ecosystem. It's not bad for them. It's technically good for them. However, there is a fish which is being bullied by the dominant female. Catfish girls are way bigger than boys, and the big mamas, to secure their access to mates and food, will beat up the submissive mamas. So, like that,
So bad.
big mama beats up the other ones. So I'm going to need to move her into a different tank so that she'll quit trying to kill all the other fish.
You're moving the dominant one?
I could move all the other ones, it's just less things to move if I
If
just.
you move the dominant one, but one of the other ones become dominant,
Sooner or later, yes, they will always stratify.
so then,
So they'll eventually separate into breeding pairs.
are there like 3 boys and 3 girls?
Not anymore.
Why don't you just kill the dominant?
Yeah, like an
Well, she's a little small for eating, and I would like her to lay eggs. We're going to be growing our own fish here, so we're going to need her to start breeding soon. I'm worried that the bullied one will not make it until tomorrow, but if she does, we'll be stoked. What's that? Yeah, she's really beat up.
I think they just do that, but they get in
Any other fish talk?
the one that breeds
You gotta get him in the mood. Inspiration. Drop a little Viagra in the tank. Do bills.
What are the little fish?
Apparently you can buy Viagra really cheap in Mexico.
I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, I know.
There was a lot of conversation from Americans that I met about like purchasing that in.
They're fish. Is there fish papers?
I want to see.
Evan, I'm sorry. I need you to sit now, please.
You know Evan?
I did. So anyway,
Evan, I don't know Evan.
Yeah, I gotta go.
we are dismissed. And you all have your athletic thing? So we have to do study goal 11. I have to warn you that the college board will often ask you. The college board will often ask you a few associated sets of facts. First, please tell me everybody knows the different parts of the planet, the crust, mantle, and core. All my students think they know what they're talking about. The college board will ask you what's the composition of the core, and the students choose the multiple choice that's the crust. Or they'll say like, what's going in the crust, and the students will choose the ingredients of the core. Be very careful, it's easy to get confused. I can help you with all these. Get ready to write. The crust you should already have in your homework from number 11. It's like this. Oxygen, silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium. I thought oxygen was a gas. Why is there so much oxygen in the Earth's crust? They're not air bubbles. No, but like water, how is the oxygen in the Earth's crust? It's chemically bonded into other element compounds in the Earth's crust. So oxygen is the most common thing. Please notice number 2 is silicon. That is not silicone. Silicone is a synthetic rubber made by humans. Silicon is the second most common element in the crust. Then aluminum, iron, and calcium. How many of you have heard that the center of the Earth is very hot? I just found out today it's about 85% the surface temperature of the sun is hot. The surface of the sun is around 10,000 degrees, the center of the Earth is around 8,300. Anybody else surprised by that? I was like totally shocked. I couldn't believe that it would be that hot.
It would be higher.
I thought it would be way lower. But yeah, it's very hot. Iron and nickel, you gotta know. It's heated by the pressure, all those atoms being squeezed against each other because all the gravity on top of them. Floating on the outside of the Earth is a whole bunch of water. Anybody know how much of the Earth's surface is covered by ocean?
70 some.
71%. Anybody know the salinity of that water? 3.5%. And the one you have to know that wasn't in your book is the total composition of the whole Earth. Get ready. Number 1, iron, 33%. Number 2, oxygen, 30%. Number 3, silicon, 15.5. Magnesium, 14%. And nickel, 2%. That crust is like the burned part on top of a creme brulee. In terms of relative densities, it's actually a very good visual to imagine a thin crust on. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I say creme brulee? How many of you pay $1,000 for creme brulee right now? Because it sounds so appetizing. I've been saying it all day and I'm totally hungry. If you imagine creme brulee, a little collision will shatter it and expose all the juiciness underneath. That's actually how meteor strikes work. That's a really big meteor strike. Pieces of the Earth's crust will like crumble and float on magma exposed on all sides. The crust is very, very thin relative to a whole lot of red hot magma. Very, very thin, very, very thin. And those little tiny pieces of crust are moving around, smashing into each other, and that creates all of the rock cycle, which I'm hoping you learned in like the 6th grade or something. How many of you have seen this early in your educational lives? You would be forgiven if you'd forgotten. I won't take this personally. Ask me if you need help. Sediment is deposited into the ocean by moving water. It's buried and compacted into what we call sedimentary rock. How many of you have questions about any of that? That sedimentary rock gets shifted around, squeezed, and reassembled into what we call metamorphic rock. Those melt, the magma crystallizes. We call that igneous or volcanic rock. You can tell because it has little air pockets. Because as it cools off, things gasify. That is uplifted to the surface, where it's weathered at the surface, eroded and transported back to the ocean. Any of those things would you like to ask me about words? What about those plate tectonic terms? Look at me. When two tectonic plates move away from each other, we call that boundary. Think about it. 1, 2, 3. Divergent. That happens underneath the world's oceans. They are the freshest, thinnest crust. So they're the ones that sink relative to the others, and so the water is deeper, thinner crust. Covered with water, underneath the world's ocean. The only divergent crust, the only divergent boundary, on the Earth's surface, anybody know? They have a lot of thermoelectric electricity. Iceland, where the Prime Minister just resigned a few hours ago.
Because of his money.
Because his presidency was built on economic reform and forcing the country to do all these difficult things to recover their economy and be honest and pay their taxes. And they find out that the guy has like billions of dollars in illegal, probably legal international tax shelters. Damn. You are living through possibly the biggest news event of your lifetime right now. It's called the Panama Papers. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you really need to read about this.
I see stuff.
The
about it,
Panama
but I don't
Papers
know
are
if
going to be
they
bigger
are.
than Watergate. I'm telling you right now.
What is
Okay.
it?
Oh!
Okay.
If you've had a lot of scabs, you know when you get a scab on a spot that's flexible, like your elbow at the top of your knee, and where it bends, it'll crack, and like red weepy juice seeps out? How many of you have experienced this? Okay, that's a divergent plate boundary. And the next time you get a scab on a flexible place where you can see that juice seeping out, you'll notice that on the edges of that juicy spot, you've got like little ridges of extra scab. Underwater mountains. Those are called oceanic spreading ridges. And the world's biggest mountains are all in the ocean, underwater. What do you call these types?
Convergent.
Convergent. And watch this. What's the one that's underneath the other one? Subducting or subducted, subduction zone. The one that pops up has done what? Look after for coming up, uplift. So all of our continental mountain ranges on the coastlines, the Sierra Nevada, the Continental Divide in the United States, the Himalaya, the Andes, the Alps, they're all where, look at me, one plate smashed into the other. This one gets driven down and melts to become more magma, while this one gets driven up. As it does, it gets fractured and all that magma comes out. So you have the volcanic stuff on the side of the uplift. And then there's this one. What's that called? Transform. It's when they're sliding past each other. Transform. That's the one that makes all the earthquakes from all that built-up tension that's eventually released in what we call earthquakes. And if you look right there, hard to point. I don't have my chair. I can't stand it up. Take my light. Right there, that's the San Andreas. And that's interesting for you and me, because the San Andreas is what makes all the earthquakes, and we are going to have a big one sooner or later. We know it's going to happen. But interesting factoid, you maybe didn't realize that we're riding the wrong plate. Santa Barbara's in the Pacific plate, not the North American plate. So over those mountains is North America. We're in the Pacific Ocean. We just don't know it yet. Basically, the strand from like Emma Wood, like right the very beginning of Ventura, from Ventura to Point Conception, we are moving this way out to sea, west, out to the Pacific, while the rest of North America is scooching southeast all the way to the Bahamas. And pretty soon, 300 million years or something, there will be an archipelago of mountains, of islands. Part of the Channel Islands, the Santa Barbara coast, like the Palos Verdes Hills, and the northwest part of Baja California. Yeah, we're all cruising out, while the American plate's all going that way. They're actually moving away faster than we are, but whatever. Yeah.
What did you look underwater by that point?
Oh, you mean because of sea level rise? Not that much. Yeah. And by the way, I'm guessing 300 million years we won't have humans anymore, so sea level will probably be back to the normal average. But yeah, you're right. You know, like ice ages and glacial periods, sea level will be somewhere or other, but those big lumps of land will probably be. I don't want to go any further. We just have a couple of minutes. Anybody want to ask me anything about what I said so far? Brad, will you please press the red button for me?